This week on ANN, the Adventist Church continues to rejoice after the president of the Interamerican region is released.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church addresses concerns and offers counsel on the COVID-19 vaccine.
And the publishing director for the Adventist Church in Interamerica passes away due to COVID-19.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, the Seventh-day Adventist World Church is still rejoicing after President of the Church in Interamerica, Elie Henry, along with his daughter, Irma, were released unharmed on December 28, 2020 in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Pastor Henry and Irma went missing on the evening of December 24.
After his release, Executive Secretary of the Adventist Church in Interamerica, Leonard Johnson, announced Henry's release, saying, "I have spoken with Pastor Henry, and he has informed me that he and Irma were reunited with his wife, Ketley, in Port-au-Prince, and all are doing well. We praise God for his protection over them," continued Johnson. "Our church leaders and members across Interamerica and the world prayed for their release, and we are relieved and thankful to God."
Ted N.C. Wilson, president of the Global Adventist Church, said in a statement, "It is with grateful hearts to God that we rejoice with the Henry family upon hearing the marvelous news shared by the Inter-American Division that Elie Henry, president of that division, and his adult daughter, Irma, were released on Monday from a kidnapping in Haiti. This is a tribute to all who were praying and working for this very positive outcome. Praise be to God who has heard our prayers."
After his release, Henry also made a statement thanking Adventist members for their many prayers while he was being held. Henry said, "On behalf of my wife and daughters, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to our brothers and sisters around the world who fervently prayed for us during the difficult experience these past few days. Your prayers gave us strength and assured us once again that God hears his children and leads us to experience things in life with a purpose."
Henry also went on to request prayers for others who are suffering, saying in his statement, "We join you in continuing to pray for thousands upon thousands of people who are suffering through traumatic and difficult challenges around the world. We must continue to minister to every soul in our community with the love of our Savior. Thank you for sharing your time, prayers, and support for our family. The Lord is faithful. May his name be praised."
For more information on this story, visit adventist.news.
On December 18, the General Conference Department of Health Ministries, the Adventist Church's Biblical Research Institute, and the Loma Linda University Schools of Pharmacy and Public Health released an article addressing concerns and offering counsel surrounding the COVID-19 vaccine. The article, in part, says, "Seventh-day Adventists look to the coming of Christ as the great culmination of history and an end of all disease, suffering, and death. At the same time, we have been entrusted with the Adventist health message embodied in and expanded upon by the writings of Ellen White, summarizing healthful living through practical and holistic healthy lifestyle behaviors. We advocate all of these practices to maintain a healthy immune system, and in the pandemic, even more is needed." In the article, the Adventist Church's Biblical Research Institute addresses concerns about rumors and conspiracy theories that the use of the COVID-19 vaccine is an interpretation and/or for fulfillment of prophecy. The article also addresses many questions and concerns regarding the efficacy and the safety of the vaccines now available. We invite our viewers to read the full article at adventist.news and the church's official statement on vaccines on adventist.org/articles. The article concludes by saying, "As we witness the global magnitude of the pandemic, the deaths, disability, and long-term COVID-19 effects that are emerging in all age groups, we are encouraging our members to consider responsible immunization and the promotion and facilitation of the development of what is commonly termed herd immunity." The article emphasized that the decision to be immunized or not is the choice of each individual and should be taken in consultation with one's healthcare provider. Personal research on the subject is important. We ultimately rely on following biblical health practices in the spirit of prophecy and following God's leading in our lives, which will bring us peace and assurance in our decision making. We again encourage our viewers to read the full article at adventist.news.
Publishing Ministries Director for the Adventist Church in Interamerica, Irvin Gonzalez, died on December 31, 2020, after complications due to the novel coronavirus. Gonzalez passed away after being admitted to a hospital in Monterrey, Mexico, early in December. He was 59. President of the Adventist Church in Interamerica, Elie Henry, said, "This is most devastating news for us. Last time I spoke to him was just before he went into the hospital on December 18. We prayed together, and I could hear that he was so strong in his connection with God." Gonzalez's passion for the publishing work and spreading the good news of the gospel in the printed word was the driving force that led him to push for more books and resources to be made readily available to literature evangelists all across the territory. Gonzalez was born in Mexico and began his service as a church pastor in South Mexico. In his more than 34 years of church service, he led as Conference Publishing Ministries Director, Conference President, University President, and Publishing House President of GIMA Editors in Mexico before becoming Publishing Ministries Director for Interamerica in 2012. Gonzalez is survived by his wife Lilia, their sons Erwin and Jenner, daughter Lilia, and 4 grandchildren.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, has joined forces with the Adventist Church to help families impacted by recent Hurricane Eta and Iota in the cluster islands of San Andres, Providencia, and Santa Catalina, Colombia. The back-to-back destructive storms that slammed the Caribbean islands located about 480 miles northwest of Colombia's mainland killed and injured several people, damaged and destroyed more than 95% of the homes, churches, and buildings in the region, and left thousands of people homeless. ADRA deployed several tons of humanitarian aid from Puerto Rico to provide emergency shelter for the victims and support the reconstruction project in the archipelago. The humanitarian agency coordinated the relief efforts with the assistance of the Adventist Church, Logistics Expert Partnership for Humanity, World Hope International, and the Colombian Air Force. Director for Emergency Management at ADRA said, "These storms are among the worst and largest hurricanes to impact these islands, and ADRA is committed to helping families restore their communities. We leveraged available resources in Puerto Rico because it was one of the closest locations to the Caribbean islands. We are grateful to our partners, the Adventist Church and the Colombian Air Force, for providing personnel and the cargo plane that made it possible to airlift tons of supplies." ADRA emergency teams have been on the ground in the Colombian islands responding to the current crisis and helping affected communities since the massive hurricanes hit the region in November. Additionally, ADRA rescue teams and church volunteers delivered more than 1,300 hygiene kits and 550 gas stoves to affected families in San Andres, Providencia, and Santa Catalina. On the mainland, ADRA also prepared food and donated hygiene items to dozens of hurricane survivors in Antioquia, Bolivar, and Choco.
The Adventure Club in Poço Redondo, Santa Catarina, Brazil, came up with a clever idea to install a clothesline with inspirational notes on it to serve the local community. But their plans changed after they learned of the tragedy involving President Getulio, a community in Santa Catarina that was hit by rain and floods. So in addition to the clothesline, called the Solidarity Line, the organizers asked visitors to bring food to be donated to city residents. The volunteers used their social networks to ask for help. In addition to the items collected during the event and those which were purchased with donated funds, donations received by the local Adventist church were also sent to President Getulio. The team also offered people magazines from the Breaking the Silence project for children and adults, as well as leaflets with the addresses for TV Novo Tempo and the local Adventist church. Some houses have been completely swept away and destroyed by the flood, and others have mud that easily reaches knee height. Fire, police, civil defense, and Brazilian army cars often circulate the streets to help homeless families. In all, 18 people are dead, 9 of whom are from a single family who lived in the same household.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church in Fiji has partnered with the Adventist Development and Relief Agency in the South Pacific to organize hundreds of food baskets to assist communities devastated by Tropical Cyclone Yasa.
Food was donated by individuals, families, youth, and church groups. People have also donated clothing and bedding.
According to the latest ADRA Fiji situation report, Cyclone Yasa caused significant destruction to infrastructure, buildings, and agriculture, and Vanuatu, Fiji's second largest island. 4 people are confirmed dead, and 1 person remains missing as a result of the Category 5 storm, which made landfall on December 17. Some 7,700 people remain in evacuation centers.
Fiji Mission President Nasoni Lutunaliwa visited Boa Province to assess the damage and provide assurance and support to church members. Boa Province was one of the areas hit hardest by the cyclone.
Lutunaliwa said in a Facebook post, "Thank God for the safety of our members. Miracles have been witnessed by our people. God never fails. Churches, halls, and family houses have been destroyed. Volunteers have been mobilized by our ministers and members in the north."
ADRA was waiting on the outcome of damage assessments underway in Vanuatu and other affected communities. An ADRA officer is part of the first response team in Vanuatu, supporting the Fijian government with the assessment.
As part of the government's first response, the immediate needs of shelter and food have been shipped to impacted islands in the Northern Division.
Coming up, 10 days of prayer started this week, and you can still join.
But up next, Advent Health shares the inspiring story of someone who was treated for COVID-19.
Hi, VL. How are you? Are you okay? Dear VL, I can't even remember how long we've been staying at home now because of this virus. For now, it's just nice to hear your voice and see your face. Nothing beats playing outside in the dirt though. Which reminds me, are your hands clean? Yes! Mommy and Daddy says not a lot of kids get COVID-19, but it's always nice to be extra safe. We should wash our hands before picking our nose. Washing our hands protects us, but it also keeps us from spreading the virus. In case we touch something dirty. Let's always be clean and safe, okay? Love, Joey.
Welcome back.
Now for some good news. Advent Health brings us an inspiring COVID-19 testimony, a story about some dire moments but a joyous outcome, all thanks to the care teams at Advent Health North Pinellas in the U.S. state of Florida.
Advent Health brought us this report.
I started having shortness of breath. I want to say around maybe 9. Through the grace of God, I made it home because, I was gasping for air driving home. And once I got home, I kind of collapsed on the couch. And I was trying to call 911, and my son Christian called 911. And it's just like being underwater. You only got a few minutes on how long you can hold your breath, and that's always been a little paranoia for me to not be able to breathe. They got me hooked up to the oxygen. For the time being, I was okay until I started hyperventilating. That's when they got me up to ICU.
Charles came to us. His condition was deteriorating, and the normal course of action in an ICU when you're having respiratory problems is to intubate. With COVID, it was just the opposite. So we pushed that off as long as we could and knew that he was going to have to be intubated. His plea was, don't let me die.
But she came in and she was very straightforward. She said, look, I'm going to need you to fight. And I was like, wow, pray for me. And she was like, no, I'm going to pray with you. She made me feel like I was someone that, she's been knowing forever. And she prayed with me, and I asked her to call my mother. I told her, I said, Mom, I don't want to die. That's the last I remember of that. I was gone.
We huddle at the first of the shift. I'll go in and listen to huddle, and then many times just say a prayer for them and say, let me pray for you for the Lord to protect you through the night, to guide your hands and give you wisdom and strength.
We just kept going no matter what we thought was coming or what we saw or, what each day brought.
What comes, we're going to handle it. We're going to do what we do best. We're critical care nurses and we save lives.
As a team, we worked very closely together with making sure that IVs were kept going, that nothing ran dry, that whoever was in the room had support.
He was our champion. We rallied around him. We rally around everybody, but we were especially invested because he was our first intubated patient.
And just to see the strength in Charles, he wanted to fight, and you could see the fight, and that made us want to fight for him as well.
With this pandemic, we don't have any visitors, and so that is very hard on families not to be able to be in with their loved ones. So every day we call twice a day, and we give updates.
It was nerve-wracking. I couldn't imagine how close we are, so I couldn't think of like, oh, my dad's like going. Like I couldn't picture that.
You know, you take a step at a time. We never went backwards with him. We continued to go forward, and I would always say, you know, we didn't go backwards, so we're good.
The doctors that took care of me, they actually sat there and explained to me, you know, whether I was getting better, what I needed to do to get better. So that's a big thing for me, you know, to be able to have people that care for me like that. It meant a lot to me.
And I got to be the one to push Charles out, which was such a beautiful ceremony. And to be part of that, like our first person that, you know, we had been through so much, and, you know, we made it as a family, as a team.
I actually think we kind of fought a little bit over who was going to actually wheel him out the day he was discharged.
I was at the door as he rolled out, and actually went out to the car, and it's very hard to put into words without getting emotional. It was a win for North Pinellas and Charles.
I could never repay them for just the time and the care that they put into taking care of me. Hey, it's safe to say I love them. I love them because through God, through them, I'm here, you know. It just makes you look at life in a whole different perspective, and thank God that I'm still around to be able to say, hey, come here and give me a hug, or jump in my truck and go to the beach and, you know, meditate, get on my metal detector, or, you know, take pictures or things of that nature, things that I like doing.
Makes you appreciate it more.
Yeah, it really does. It really does, you know. It means a lot to just be able to see another day.
Don't forget, 10 Days of Prayer kicked off this week on January 6th, and it's not too late to join.
Every year, countless Seventh-day Adventists around the world unite for 10 days to pray for revival, reformation, the church's mission, and interceding for a dying world. The 10 Days of Prayer initiative will run from January 6 to 16, 2021.
This year's 10 Days of Prayer program theme is Seeking Revival and focuses on the importance of experiencing personal revival and the joy of complete surrender to God in every aspect of life. The theme verse for the event is, "Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts," from Zechariah 4, verse 6.
The daily readings were written by Pastor Hamlet Hobale, author of bestsellers such as Steps to Personal Revival and Abide in Jesus.
To participate, individuals and churches can sign up at 10daysofprayer.org, where they will also find all materials for free download in over 35 languages, including Spanish, Portuguese, French, and German.
Coming up, Michael Yonker brings us This Week in Adventist History.
But up next, Adventist Mission shares a story about an Adventist school in the Ukraine.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath. And we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system, the creation grid, a simple 7-column structure for layout. The grid is a reference both to the prophetic timeline as well as to the creation week that culminated in the 7th-day Sabbath. The first 6 columns of the grid belong to the designer. It can be filled with anything: text, images, illustrations, patterns, and logos. But the 7th column, the Sabbath column, does not belong to them. It is meant to be different and special. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Welcome back.
An Adventist school in the Ukrainian city of Bucha is providing holistic education to the community.
After a lot of prayer and hard work from dedicated teachers and workers, the school has almost 200 students.
Adventist Mission has more.
Getting an Adventist education in Ukraine when it was under the control of the Soviet Union was not just difficult, it was impossible. The city of Bucha was no exception. But now an Adventist school is providing holistic education to the community.
This is the first such project in the city of Bucha. If we take into account the history of Ukraine, then we have the effects of an atheistic past. We do not have many private schools in Ukraine in general.
In 2015, the Academy of Wisdom Adventist School opened its doors in Bucha with just 8 students. After much prayer and hard work from dedicated teachers and workers, the school has grown to almost 200 students.
More than half of the students in our school do not belong to Adventist families. This is our opportunity to witness to them. The children learn to pray and read the Bible, and they share this with their parents. We have many instances where parents approach us and thank us for having such a special project because they see the changes in their children's behavior. This is because we are integrating the Christian worldview into all the subjects taught in our school.
The Academy of Wisdom is not only a great witnessing tool in the community, but it's also an answer to prayer for many of the Adventist believers in the area. For many years, their children did not have access to Christian education. Students like Sophia were so happy to have a school where they could learn more about Jesus.
I graduated from elementary school and was in a public school for a while, so now I feel the difference. I am very grateful to God that I have the opportunity to study in a Christian school. The morning devotionals with teachers on spiritual topics, praying together, all this helps a lot in my spiritual growth.
Sophia is studying for baptism now and hopes to continue the rest of her education at the Academy of Wisdom. But there is one problem that may make it difficult for students like Sophia to get the Christian education they desperately want.
This project is developing very quickly, and the only reason that currently limits this development is the lack of space. In fact, at the moment, we have a great need for premises. Another 70 parents could not send their children to our school due to the fact that we just could not take them. We need support from you, dear brothers and sisters, and we thank you very much for your support because it will give us the opportunity to build a new room.
A new building will create the space they need to continue spreading the gospel to all of the families wanting a Christian education in Bucha. Then even more students like Sophia can experience how exciting a relationship with Jesus truly is. Please pray for the Academy of Wisdom Adventist School in Ukraine that is spreading the good news of the gospel to dozens of students every day. Consider supporting the school through this quarter's 13 Sabbath offering so they can build the room they need to serve their community. Thank you for your dedication and prayer for mission around the world.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting adventistmission.org, then click on videos at the top.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to Michael Yonker for a look at Adventist history.
This week, we'll hear about the Voice of Prophecy, American Health and Temperance Association, and Southwestern Adventist University.
This week in Adventist history, we want to remember some of the pioneering efforts of our church in new areas, such as radio and health ministries, as well as education. Almost exactly a month after the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, ushering the United States into World War II, on January 4, 1942, HMS Richards, founder of the Voice of Prophecy in 1929, broadcast his first coast-to-coast radio program on the Mutual Broadcasting System, covering 89 stations. Richard's message was appropriately titled The March of the Nations, and he called it the greatest thrill of his ministry. Inspired by Richards, many more SDA ministers around the world began their own Voice of Prophecy or Voice of Hope broadcasts in some 36 languages. Eventually, more than 1,100 stations would air the good news. The annual Voice of Prophecy Day in October brings in offerings throughout North America and elsewhere. On January 5, 1879, the American Health and Temperance Association was organized, with John Harvey Kellogg, then at Battle Creek Sanitarium, elected president. The records show that some 133 people signed on to the Teetotalers' pledge to discard strong teas and other stimulants, including alcohol. This association was the result of several people working throughout 1878 to recruit support from Adventist membership. Lastly, on January 7, 1894, the Texas School, otherwise known today as Southwestern Adventist University, opened with 56 students. With the needs of the region expanding, then President W.S. Greer led a movement to found a school. Today, Southwestern is fully accredited and offers degrees in a wide range of fields. That is this week in Adventist history. May we enjoy a blessed new year.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Did you know the Adventist Church has a YouTube channel where you can watch ANN video, ANN in-depth, and plenty of other amazing videos on prophecy, health, and Bible study?
Just go to YouTube and search for the Adventist Church. Make sure you click the subscribe button to make sure you're caught up each week.
And remember, leave a comment or a prayer request. We have people who are praying for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of Mark, chapter 16, verses 15 and 16.
The passage says, He said to them, Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned.
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit adventist.news for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.